Welcome to the Elk Season Podcast, Season 3, Episode 13. Today is May 2nd, 2024, and it is 118 days until Elk Season. We are the Chambers Brothers. My name is Harold.
I'm David.
And today on the Elk Season Podcast,
We're talking about some weather. We're going to talk about ethics in hunting, something funky about technology and calling in animals, wolves in our area here in Idaho, bears tend to make a frequent appearance as much as wolves and as much as elk, and maybe elk will have a presence here somewhere. You'll have to watch for it. Exercise trends, because we like to check in about where we're at with our exercise goals. Cybertruck and other types of equipment. Curious about where that's going. And then we're going to finish it off with some, kicking some bison and some monkey business. All that on the Elk Season Podcast.
and I just left that whole thing in there last week. I put the date and the timestamp over it.
We can do the whole Wayne's World thing.
Yeah, that's all really we need.
That's all we need.
I don't know if YouTube quite hits the standards of cable access.
But now, because we've done what we've done, we will be kicked. We will be
demonetized.
Demonetized because we've done something proprietary.
So there have been a couple times in the past few weeks I've said, "Man, this weather is BS."
Yeah,
this is BS. This is
how
it.
BS.
I expect this is Southern Idaho. It's May. I've expected it to be warmer.
Me too.
And it hasn't been. I'm not mad.
Not necessarily.
100%.
The grass grows slower when it's cold, and I'm okay with that.
But so and I'm really not mad because I know, I paid really close attention. We talked about the weather every week the past couple years doing the Elk Season Podcast. And last year, as we noticed there was a particularly slow spring. Right? We want to think about that green wave and how that green wave can slowly climb the mountain. If the snow melts all in a weekend or all in 2 weeks in early June or something, and it just stays hot, that green wave that is important nutrients for not just the elk, but the deer and
the whole ecosystem. Yeah.
Then it's going to be a more bountiful year for those animals.
Yeah.
There's higher nutrients. The calves are going to have a higher fat content. The cows will have a higher fat content. And that will put them into estrus sooner in the rut rather than later.
Which can provide a much more exciting experience during September.
And yes. And my experience last year was very encouraging because the second and third weekend of September were very active.
Yes, they were.
Very active.
You came back successful that one trip.
Yeah, and even Labor Day weekend. Did we go out Labor Day?
We did. We always go out Labor Day.
Yeah, we do. What did we do? What happened?
That I cannot tell you.
We didn't see bulls together. I know that.
No.
On Labor Day, which is a big surprise.
Right. So a Labor Day weekend, here's what I remember. We went up the Elk Ridge. We went over into the backyard. Because we retraced trying to find that water bottle that I might have dropped.
Oh, yeah.
And then we ended up sitting up on
that's
across
right.
from
We
the
had
backyard.
biscuits and gravy at the top of Elk Ridge.
Of Ripper Pass, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's there. And we ended up not really having much success that weekend, but
No, not much.
Quiet.
But we did see elk.
Yes, we did.
And we did not see bulls together.
Correct.
Which is very surprising So anyways, that's what I think we're sort of working towards. I'll keep an eye on the weather. I don't see 80 degrees in the next 2 weeks.
It's crazy.
In through mid-May, I don't see 80 degrees.
I got things to plant in my garden.
I know.
And I've actually delayed. We bought a bunch of stuff over the weekend.
Yeah.
They're still sitting in a crate so we can move them into the garage at night because we've had frost a couple nights.
Yeah, last night.
Yeah.
It got down to 31. Yeah.
So it's mildly frustrating, but not because all in all, it'll all work out. But for the hunting season, hopefully the slow warm continues. And we have the green wave we need, and the animals and the ecosystem can be healthy, and we can have a great time.
And it's going to be different from last year because we had a harsh winter last year and a slow spring.
Right.
Now we've had a mild winter
with a slow spring.
And a slow spring. So it'll be interesting to just think back on our spring and our summer,
right,
and measure that against the elk season and the activity that we see.
I'm kind of disappointed that early on when we first started going up to this area together, that we weren't in the same mindset we're in now. Because that first year, it seemed like the first day I took you up, I went to the spots that I liked because I had some success the previous 2 years. And I remember you telling me, I'm not really feeling it here. But then it was the second day.
Yeah. Well, it snowed that day, that first day, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that was, I think, either the second outing that year or the second year. But the first year, I just remember, I'm like, here's where I like to go. Here's what I see. We weren't seeing much. And you're like, I'm not feeling it. But then like the second day, we started seeing animals come out of the woodwork. So we're on the Butt Crack, we're on the Morning Ridge. We went from the Morning Ridge all the way over to Elk Ridge chasing animals that day.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they were just everywhere.
Yeah. I do remember that. And I do remember it getting busy.
I thought I saw a wolf, but it wasn't. It was a mountain goat. Remember? It was all that same day. It was everything was happening. There were so many animals up there. It's changed that much in the 10 years we've been up there working together. But it's nice to know that we have the accumulated knowledge and we're continuing to go. But it does suck. Like, wow, if you could go back to those times when we had a lot more animals, it seemed like.
Yeah.
And what we do now. But ultimately, things ebb and flow, and we're going to continue to have the success we have, despite my lack of harvest. It will change.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a good year. It's going to be a good year.
Despite a rough hike this year, I don't anticipate any more hernias.
117 days? 118?
119. You actually said 118 at the beginning, but that's okay. I didn't want to embarrass you, but since you brought it up.
That's okay. Yeah, please. I don't care. I make mistakes all the time. Like I said, I need a lot of forgiveness. I'm very forgiving. No problem.
That's great. I forgive you.
So we'll keep an eye on the weather out west. We'll continue to talk about it on the Elk Season Podcast as we go through the summer to see. We haven't even had many updates on snowpack this year.
No.
Because there hasn't been much to talk about. It's been above average in some places and below average in others. And because of El Nino, we kind of expected a lower than average.
Right.
Higher than average precipitation, but higher than average temperatures. So there would be a little bit less total accumulation.
It's kind of throwing that in its face.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to figure out.
It's more of an El Nino. No, sorry, bad joke.
Yeah,
well, sorry. I'll go back to the drawing board on that one.
It makes the joke worse if you point it out, though.
What?
Just kidding.
Well, that was horrible.
So, anyways, that's where we're at.
That's
right
our
now.
weather. But
yeah.
But speaking of because we were just talking about going up and hunting, there are certain things that we talk about periodically on this podcast about, what do we feel are ethical things to do. And so haphazardly I'm segueing and I'm pointing it out because
I gotcha.
No. So being ethical, and you showed me a TikTok, is that right? A TikTok earlier about a gentleman providing some insight on what's the difference between killing an animal this way versus that way.
So there's a lot of guys who do guys who do videos on YouTube, right?
Yes.
And then there's Randy Newberg.
That wasn't Randy. Well,
I know.
There's Randy Newberg. Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
Then there's Randy Newberg. He's next level. He's above them all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He just Randy Newberg's so great.
It's very down to earth.
There's a lot
insightful.
of celebrity hunters.
Yeah.
But Steve Ranella is next level.
Okay.
He's next level. He has a series on Netflix.
And I think
you know that?
I think so.
Meat Eater.
I think I've seen him. Maybe.
Meat Eater.
Yeah.
It's called
I've
Meat
just
Eater on
never
Netflix.
watched it.
Yeah.
I've just never watched it. So.
He's been hunting with Joe Rogan. So it's been, it's that level, and he does a lot of podcasts. I watched him field a question from a vegan.
Okay.
How do you feel about these animals dying and Steve says, you know what? I've had this question before, and it's not so much a question as a statement, but let me address it. And addresses it so calmly and so plainly and so respectfully. So that TikTok alone upped the respect I have for Steve Ranella. And this one as well. Because it's something, because I went through a range of emotions watching this TikTok.
Okay.
Right? He talks about no one, if you were out hunting with buddies and you say, I can only see the leg of a deer, I'm just going to shoot the leg. Maybe we can track it.
Right.
Your buddies, you would be out of the club.
Correct.
That's not a good shot. That's not a safe shot. You're not an ethical hunter. I don't want to hunt with you. But we don't do the same thing for pigs, right? Pigs cause a lot of ecological damage.
We can argue feral animals. So pigs were just the example, because I think what he's saying expands to anything that we consider a nuisance. We would do the same kind of behavior with.
Right.
But pigs were the example in this video.
Right. So even rabbits, even the jackrabbits we go shoot are invasive, and he says, we wouldn't even think twice, right? So I agree that if somebody were to hunt that way in our group, they would be ostracized. We're like, oh, you're not doing that. I agree with that statement.
Yeah.
But then right away, I agree with what else he's saying, which is no one would think twice about shooting an invasive species and let it drive and bleed. Even you.
Yeah.
Like automatically, oh yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
But then he makes the point that this animal is an animal too, and it shouldn't be led to suffer.
Correct. Yeah.
If you're going to kill an animal, it should be done ethically and quickly. Nature is hard and difficult, and yes, some animals cause massive ecological damage. They don't know any better, and they don't need to suffer because of it.
Right.
So
and on that note, because he's talking about feral pigs in Texas, probably, and southern places where they are invasive.
Well, there's plenty in Montana too, in Canada. It
makes me think differently, and I only watched a couple of them, but I was like, well, I think I watched it out of curiosity, but I felt uncomfortable, I think, based on what I watched, and that is they have some sort of attractant that brings a whole bunch of pigs.
Yes.
And then they blow them up, and you can hear them screeching and squealing in the aftermath of the explosion. I thought, I'm trying to wrap my head around that, but his commentary made me go, okay, it's not really ethical.
He's a leader, right? And Steve Rinella is like, he's a guy a lot of hunters look to, just like Randy Newberg. He's a hunter. A lot of people go, hey, thank you, Steve Rinella, for saying this to all hunters, because he's kind of a leader.
Yeah.
He's kind of that role model for other hunters. And it was really nice to hear, because I never put it that way. And I probably wouldn't have thought twice if I went to go shoot pigs.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have. But now, and honestly, I do, because we go out and shoot jackrabbits. I'm like, no, I want to make sure they're dead. I want to make sure they're dead.
Yeah.
I don't want them to suffer. And I didn't recognize that about myself when I was doing it. But I was like, okay, yeah, they're wounded enough. We can go up there and shoot them, and and it's sporting and fun. But they're also invasive, and they don't need to suffer. Anyways, I thought it was the way he put it was very very nice.
I agree. I felt like it was points well made.
Yeah.
And even if we had maybe more of a unethical history with like squirrels and rabbits and things like that, I feel like it was never to the extent that you tend to see and hear about now. And it's not something I would do now. And so I at least feel better about having moved forward, really recognizing long before this that it's just not something I'm into, and I couldn't quite pinpoint it, but I think he kind of underscored maybe that's what it was, and I just didn't know how to articulate it. But, but speaking about ethical hunting, there's a lot of areas that we focus on. One of the other areas is what is fair hunting? What gives you an unfair advantage versus other things, right?
Yeah.
So
is it just the law? Is it just the law? As long as I obey the law, is that fair?
Right.
According to the law, yeah. But there are some advances in technology that are before the law. And there's a Wild West period. Yeah. And all Wild West means is unregulated.
Yeah.
There's the verge of technology.
Excuse me. So, and with new technologies, that's what it is. I like that analogy, actually. It's just a new Wild West era is upon us with AI technology. And I can't remember what it was you brought up recently about AI technology, but this is a new AI something that's come up that is important to look at. Yeah, this is
right off of Onyx, and I love Onyx. Onyx says, hey, listen, you can use the Onyx app to tell you what direction and how far away a turkey is when it's gobbling.
Do you think it's just turkeys?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's where some advantage comes from technology that should be or eventually will be regulated.
Right.
And when we have AI, and I know we talk about animal language, there's going to be some apps that can interpret. Have you ever seen? I know I keep getting off track, but there are TikToks where you can learn how to speak to your cat. You can say "come here" to your cat.
What was that, meow?
Yeah. Did you know that?
I didn't.
There's enough cat people out there. They're paying attention, and they get together on the internet.
I thought the only thing that you had to do to say "come here" to your cat was
right. But it's like a meow. It's something weird like that, and then all cats just run to it. It means like "come here," and it won't be long before there's an app for people that are new with cats.
Yeah.
To say, "Oh, what is my cat trying to tell me? Is he hurt? Is he hungry? Is he lost?
like your
Is he
Shazam
lonely?"
app. You hold it up to the cat's noise or whatever, and it'll tell you what song it's singing.
It's not that big of a leap then,
Right.
to understand we can use these apps in the woods and say, how far away is that elk? What is that elk trying to communicate? Oh, that's a human. Don't go towards him.
Yeah.
Right? If I'm not wasting my day trying to chase some hunter
I
bugler.
have an app that tells me how many decibels I'm speaking right now if I wanted to. And so
Yeah.
it's so advanced. There's so much technology. So what are the ethical concerns behind this then?
And what can AI do in an app to say, this elk is distressed, he's ready to fight, this elk is amped up, this elk is talking like he is ready to run, he's going to take his girls and go.
Right.
There's going to be something. If there isn't already, there's going to be something that does that. And I think it will need regulation. It will be added to the regulations.
So, I don't want to waste time on the podcast with this question I'm about to ask you, but I'm just going to put it out there. We feel it might need regulation, but what about it's a free country? Why regulate everything? Get off my back, government.
Good question. Good question.
So, and again, not that we have to go there, but there's going to be pushback somewhere.
So the success rate of hunters is for bow hunters is 10%, right?
Yep.
20% for rifle.
Mm-hmm.
And over the past couple of years, there's been such an increase of hunters. And I believe there's been an increase of hunters because there's an increase in education about hunting.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, when we first started, it was like we had Idaho topo. Remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I spent days on that thing.
Yeah,
just
so
looking
did I.
and looking and trying to think of where to go. And I'm just looking at a topo map.
Yeah.
That's before Google Earth.
Yeah.
Now you have YouTube
That was a good time.
and Onyx.
Yeah.
And all these things come together. It's not that hard to put together an elk hunt. And obviously, more guys are doing it because we're killing more elk than ever before with the same percentage of success. So we have to have more hunters out there. If the success rate starts to climb too high, then it might be worth worrying about.
So effectively, what you're saying with that, if the success rate gets too high, then it becomes the lines at the ski resort.
Yeah. Even if, there's already a line, and fortunately for sportsmen, fortunately for outdoor sportsmen and hunters specifically, that line started yesterday. May 1st is the drawing, the drawing period for Idaho's Fish and Game. So all this month is the drawing period. That's the line right now. Is getting a tag. And until they make bow hunters wait in line for that tag or get in line for a tag, I will be worried when that day comes.
Yeah.
And I hope it's later rather than sooner.
I know. I still have to harvest.
Which is why
it's been so hard to this point. Don't put something in my way.
Yeah. So that's where our line is right now. They're not just going to give everybody a tag and say, good luck. But the more tags that are sold, the more tags are going to be filled. And it's going to be something we're going to have to address in the near future.
Yeah.
I believe in the next 4 or 5 years.
And if I can use that to kind of jump into the next story, to say something that we have to address, that is the active management of predators in Idaho. And so you brought to my attention today, wolves have hunted some goats up near Fairfield.
Fairfield is not far away. Not far
away from where we hunt. No.
And on the very cusp of the desert.
Yeah, it is.
The very cusp.
It is Fairfield is a town. Well, it's
a town in the Camas Prairie, north of
Gooding, Idaho.
Past the city of Rocks.
If you ever go to Soldier Mountain Ski Resort, you have to go through Fairfield.
Yeah, or Boise. If you go the back way,
you still have to go to Fairfield to get to.
No, you can turn around before you get to Fairfield. Anyway, because we go to the North Fork of the Boise River through there.
Yeah,
so you could come that way.
But we go to Fairfield to do that.
I know. But the road forks are after Fairfield. I'm splitting hairs.
I figured out what you meant. You're right. There's a back way.
There's always a back way.
There's always one more way.
So it's basically up by it's up by the Wood River Valley. It's near Bellevue and Ketchum and Haley.
Right. But I feel that if you have active predation of livestock animals, then that tells us that maybe there's an overabundance of predators.
Yeah. Yeah.
So active predator management is necessary.
Or, well, it's that time of year. It's the hungry time of year.
That's true.
It's the hungry time of year is just before everybody fills up on the calves.
You ever had goat?
I don't think so.
I don't think I've had either. I've had lamb.
I have had lamb
It's
too.
really good.
Yeah, it is. With the mint sauce.
I haven't had goat.
At Outback Steakhouse.
I haven't done that.
It's good, not bad.
I had a friend who their family had harvested a lamb, and I ate over at their house, and they put this roast on the table, and I'm like, it looks like any other roast,
Right.
But I kind of suspected that it was different. But I'm eating.
It has a different taste to it for sure.
I ate it, and I'm like, this is actually really good.
Yeah.
And so I think here's what's funny about this story is I think that they're like, yeah, come on over and eat, and nobody's going to tell him what it is.
Yeah.
And when we tell him what it is, we're going to watch for his reaction.
Yeah.
And I didn't give them the reaction they wanted because I'm like, it's actually really good. And they are kind of like,
bummer.
Oh man, he didn't fall for it. Like, it was good. I liked it. You cooked it well. Don't cook it so well next time.
but they've been practicing.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
yeah, predators is something that's been on my mind, and if you've listened to the Elk Season podcast at all, you know that. I intend to trap, and I intend to hunt wolves next winter.
Okay.
And mountain lions. The deer need help in the South Hills, and the elk need help in the mountains.
Yeah.
And not that they need help. The elk don't need help. The elk. I need more elk.
Yeah.
It's a selfish reason.
Sure.
I want more deer. I want more elk.
Yeah.
And if I do my part to help manage predators, I can help those populations. So that's what I intend.
So anyway, predators being our conversation piece. Let's segue to bears.
Yeah.
And so there's a few bear stories that came up this week. Now, one I forgot, I did not bring. This is the first week in a long time I have not contributed any stories.
Yeah.
But there are some stories I did see. I was just too busy to be able to.
Was it finals week for you? Is that what it is?
Finals week is next week. I've been gearing up, doing a lot of grading.
So what do they call this? Dead week?
That's a misnomer.
I know it is. I know it is at CSI. At other colleges, maybe.
Yeah, no, I get it. But anyway, I've just been really busy doing stuff. But but this one I actually saw, and I don't know if this is the one you want to start with. But
Dead week for the students. It's like when they turn in their final papers. I know you're busy. Anyways,
even for students.
Okay.
Even for students.
All right.
I think once upon a time when I was a student, there was kind of that vibe, but I still never felt it. And when I became hired there, I realized that that was all just like, it was an idea that people could do, but it wasn't mandated.
Right.
So you weren't required to not have your students do work. It was like,
okay.
Whatever. And so, at least when I started. But no, this story I did come across last week, but I just didn't have a time to clip it. Grizzly bears translocated to the Rocky Mountains, enter British Columbia, establish a population in the North Cascades. So I saw a headline about the North Cascades and bears coming back to that.
This is the Biden administration's plan to help return healthy grizzly populations to Washington State.
Yeah.
And Washington State being so closely located to Canada.
Yes.
They haven't managed to quite deplete their grizzly population like every other state except Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming.
Wow.
Right? There hasn't been a grizzly bear in California or Utah or Oregon, I think, all three of those states for more than 100 years. Maybe Colorado as well.
Right.
No grizzly for 100 years in Colorado. So anyways, and it's big news. Much like the wolves going back to Colorado, there's some people really concerned and really upset about grizzly bears being in the North Cascades. Anyways, I'm excited to see how it goes.
Yeah.
I would really like grizzly bears return to California.
Yeah. Agreed.
The ecological responsibility demands the return of grizzly bears to California.
If they don't have bears back in California in the next 5 years, I'm going to steal their flag.
They should.
I'm going to reprimand it.
They should change it to something else. I don't know.
Or I'm going to at least add the words to the bear, bring me back.
And a new slogan, where federal regulations are born.
Right.
Sorry.
But but grizzly bears, though, are no joke, right? So you have to be on guard and you have to be ready for bears in general, predators in general. But most of the time, most predators, and I do mean most, they tend to not bother you. I think there's been some videos in the last couple of years with some cats following people, but grizzlies are a unique predator. And so regardless of the species, it's always good to have some sort of protective measure. And I think it's a misnomer. Of course, you can carry a sidearm if you want, but it's not as effective as bear spray.
Yeah.
So carry bear spray and make sure it's up to date and working well. Montana, I had a picture of a grizzly bear that's being relocated from, it looks like Lincoln, Montana, over to Glacier National Park, which is just a stone's throw away from there. But
it really is. Actually, you go from Lincoln, you go over the Bob Marshall into Glacier. I mean, that's really
Lincoln's on the west side, though.
It's on the southern end. It is, but
because Bob Marshall is on the southeast.
Okay. I was going a little more general. There's Glacier's kind of Canada. Bob Marshall's south of that, and south of that is Lincoln.
Oh, I thought Lincoln was far west.
Oh, I don't think so.
Was in the. Oh, I'm thinking. Hold on.
You're thinking Kalispell?
I'm thinking Lincoln County.
Oh,
Lincoln County is in the northwest.
Oh, okay.
That was my bad.
This is Lincoln. There's Lincoln.
Lincoln is different.
Lincoln, Montana, where we've been.
Yes. No, I apologize. I was like, Lincoln County? What are you talking about?
Where the Unabomber was from. Where many a grizzly story.
Yeah.
Many a modern grizzly story.
I almost contested that because I'm still in the county versus city.
Yeah.
And I was like, Lincoln's in Lewis and Clark County. This is how my brain is messed up right now. So at least I have my geography correct.
Yeah.
My towns are incorrect. But yes, Lincoln was, I'm sorry. I'm on the same page
You're
now.
coming from work on an empty stomach
and
some brandy wine. Woo, that is gone.
And at least I've been tolerable.
Summer semester will be different though. You'll be well fed.
That's coming soon.
Looking to sit inside with some AC and get in the shade for a minute.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for putting up with that BS. Anyway, but no, you're right. It is.
So
exactly
without having to say anything about that, there's just about where Lincoln is.
Yeah.
The Lincoln, Montana,
right.
Is a great epicenter of grizzly activity, for not being Yellowstone.
Right.
It's
surprising because grizzlies have always been there.
Yeah.
But maybe in smaller numbers. But we've spent a lot of time out there.
A lot of time.
And I've even gone into the Bob Marshall.
Yeah.
And it's like, so it's grizzly bears are elusive, but they're not until they're not really.
Yeah.
And so you just have to be prepared. Make noise, get big, have bear spray.
Right. Ooh, I had another TikTok. This guy, I'll tell this story real quick. This FedEx driver's coming up and he pushes the gate to say, "Hey, can I come and deliver this package?" Guy goes, "Yeah, sure. Let me open the gate." Hold up. There's a bear right there. There's a bear. And the FedEx driver goes, and the bear's like, and it turns and runs. And the FedEx driver walks up the driveway. It makes it
that's good to know.
Good training, yeah.
It's always boggled me because I got the right kind of training when I went into the Bob Marshall. Get together, get big, make noise, have bear spray. One of our guides had a sidearm, but I don't remember if or who might have had some bear spray. I didn't have any bear spray. I had a lot of canned food, which is probably not advisable.
Good luck getting that canned food out of there, grizzly.
Right. But
I've always have a problem.
But that's always been reinforced. But I've seen people not apply those tactics, and that gets them in trouble.
Right.
And that's also been reinforcing to what I learned. So I'm very thankful for that training at 14.
Yeah.
When I did that.
Yeah.
13. I was 13 when I
Yeah.
went to the
Do you know
Bob
what year it
Marshall.
was? It was still legal to hunt grizzlies.
95.
It was still legal. Oh, no, it wasn't. It was legal to hunt grizzlies until 1991 in the Bob Marshall of Montana.
Yeah, it was in 95 when I went. So June of 95 when it, west of Augustus or Augusta, near King Mountain. We went in King Mountain, went back to Scapegoat Mountain into the canyons. And I've always wanted to redo that trek. I've talked to you about it.
That's some country, boy.
It was just so beautiful.
Oh, that's some country.
There was a place on the trail, and I know we got to move on to the next story, but there was a place on the trail where we had to cross the river via a large fallen deadfall tree.
Nice.
And you could.
Was it a raging river? Was it dangerous? Would you have died if you fell in?
It wouldn't have been pleasant.
Okay. Points awarded. Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been pleasant, but because there's a lot of, you're talking 8th grade to 9th graders, right?
Yeah.
So I haven't hit a growth spurt yet. This was the beginning of my growth spurt, and it was really taxing. I had a lot of energy going out, but I was really worn out coming out. Or really a lot of energy going in, but a lot of really worn out coming out.
Yeah.
But it was just so cool. And I just remember that it's just like a scene from The Hobbit, you know, you cross this old dead tree to get across this ravine to get to the trail. So a bear being zapped by an electric mat. Tell me about
So yeah, I saw this on TikTok, and there's a warning sign across the steps up onto their back porch. Apparently there's enough problems where they have bears come on their back porch looking for food, and there's an electric mat. If you step on it with your pads, your bare paws, it'll zap you. And this bear can't read, and he steps on it and he's like, okay, and he turns and he's gone.
That's good. We need that.
Yeah, exactly.
Get out of my hot tub. I will make a lot of noise. There's a video out there of this bear's in my hot tub. I don't know what to do. Like, go out and scare it off, you big sissy.
Yeah.
Anyway, but people don't know what they don't know. I should
maybe
judge
you should pluck
too
at
harshly.
some grapes.
It needs wine and grapes and cheese. It just be a good host.
There was a study I read about. There was a video I watched about a guy saying, "Hey, did you know you can protect your hay from elk with an electric fence?" Idaho State University did a study on it. Electric fences work. He goes, so that's what I did. I put up an electric fence around my hay, and guess what? The elk ate the hay. And he goes, and then I read the study. They had to teach the elk by putting peanut butter on the electric wire. The electric wire does not deter the elk. They're thick. Their hide is too thick. It won't hurt them because it's too cold out, and they're just made different. So they taught the elk to stay away from the electric fence by putting peanut butter on the electric fence.
So they're attracted to the peanut butter, and
when
they
go
start to
lick
associate
That's right.
Oh, that's great. Right. Classical conditioning 101. That's right. I teach that every fall and spring and summer semester.
There's 2 lessons there.
Yes. The first one?
Read the directions.
Yes.
Read the whole study.
Yes. I can't emphasize that enough.
Yeah.
I'm tired of.
I can't say I haven't made that mistake before, though.
Well, and
That's why I'm laughing.
I have made that mistake too, but I've also learned to be more savvy. So when I see a headline I won't
dig deeper.
Dig deeper.
Yeah, dig deeper.
Because
it's just a
that's not the whole study, because the headline was written by somebody who didn't read the whole study.
Exactly.
That's the point.
Exactly.
What's the second lesson?
The second lesson is classical training. You need to train those up.
Yeah.
You can't just put up an electric fence.
And we've talked various aspects of that. We've talked a lot about.
Yeah.
Elk do not make a presence in this podcast.
They totally did.
We talked about elk hunting, and we talked about because I thought this was about a deadhead elk.
Yeah.
Because you showed me a video, but this is actually deadhead moose.
Yeah.
Interlocked. This is freaking awesome.
Wouldn't this be the find of all finds if you're out shed hunting?
Yeah.
Look at this. Ooh. These are 2 moose that were entangled together and died like that. And you get to walk up and find them? What a
trip.
Treasure. What a find.
And to take a picture before you do anything else.
Yeah, to take a video of walking up to it like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh,
That's pretty
Can you
rad.
imagine?
Props.
Wasn't there something? There was something like that in the South Hills or out by Burley last year.
I think so.
They had two bulls that fought and went down in the water, so they weren't all decomposed after the winter.
Yeah.
And they pulled them out of the water, but they were still
Yeah.
tangled together.
How's your exercise going for this year? You
So-
talked about cardio last week.
Last week I had a great anecdote about cardio. My wife is busy building a CrossFit gym,
Yes.
which means we have no CrossFit gym to work out in. So I've just been exercising at home like a dope on an exercise bike, like a boring dope. And I told you last week I feel better.
Are you saying something about me?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed pushing myself. I enjoy riding a bike, even because of stupid weather. You can't get out.
Yeah.
So I just want to exercise, and so I've been exercising. And I told you last week, you know what? I feel better. I
Yeah.
feel more energetic. I feel something.
Cardiovascular
Yeah.
exercise is so connected to our psychological sense of well-being that we forget.
Yeah.
And even I have to remind myself of that sometimes.
And so I said that last week anecdotally.
Yes.
This week I get a notification on my phone saying, "Hey, we noticed the past 5 weeks your heart rate's you've been up. Keep up the good work." Right?
That's funny.
Thanks, phone.
Yeah.
I don't need bros.
I had a bike, but I never really liked it.
An exercise bike?
Yeah, I'd rather ride my bike out on the roads and trails and stuff.
Yeah.
So the exercise bike that I have, I got to take to an auction or something, see if somebody will buy it. But I have an elliptical, and I talked about that. And I have not been a good steward of my own exercise health, especially since it wasn't that I got an excuse. I just got in a lull, but my hernia last year really took my motivation out of me.
Yeah.
And now I found something to get me back into the swing of things. And I've been on my elliptical all week, and it's just been amazing how I feel. And it's been 10, 12 minutes of elliptical split up in halves.
Yeah.
But I push myself pretty hard, and I get what it says equivalent of a mile, but it's cardio. It's in the morning. That's where I tend to thrive and get a lot out of it. And I have had energy throughout the day. I have been more productive with my work. I have been better able to articulate content for my class. So it's been eye-opening, even though it's the last week of the semester. I've been good the rest of the semester. It's just that it's been more efficient.
Yeah.
And it's been kind of eye-opening. And I want to keep this trend because ultimately it's good for elk hunting, but it's also just good for me.
It's just good for me. I know I need to keep the trend. And I don't have an exercise bike. I bought an old-fashioned 10-speed with a trainer.
Okay.
So I'm using a bike that I can actually use.
Oh, excuse me.
Well, because I had an exercise bike and I just never got on it. It was a nice spin bike too. And I'm just like, no, I don't know. It's just
doesn't
so weird.
feel the same.
Yeah.
So that would make sense.
But
I should try that
having this
sometime.
bike and it's a nice bike. I can take it out on the trails if I want, on paved trails. Then it would be a lot of fun. Anyway. So, and I found it on Craigslist for $130. So
There you go.
Yeah, and I got a bike out of the deal. Anyway, so yeah, that's some empirical evidence to my anecdote. Is all. Just some
And
backup.
I remember feeling this. So I got on that elliptical. I bought that elliptical when we went to Mount
Bora. Yeah.
Bora, and I started doing that to prepare for Mount Bora. And
Oh,
I remember
good.
how good I felt, and I kept doing it after Mount Bora. But I wish I had just sustained it. But either way, I'm back on it now, and I'm feeling good. And I've lost almost 5 pounds.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. So
I remember before my wife started CrossFit, she worked at the YMCA, and I could just go to the YMCA and lift and do all that stuff. Yeah. And they had an elliptical. The elliptical was my favorite. It was my favorite because it could it was no impact.
Yeah.
Not having to land on my feet and pound my knees out just for the sake of a little exercise. But
Am I right?
it was able to rocket my heart rate.
Yeah.
I was really surprised at how something so smooth could get my heart rate up so high. And so it just became my favorite, and I went there on a regular basis just to watch my heart rate climb and stay on it. So I like the elliptical, and I like the exercise bike too.
Yeah. Other kinds of equipment. Well, you hope to have a Cybertruck someday.
I reserved a Cybertruck 4 years ago on my birthday, so almost exactly 4 years ago in 2020 when who knew what was going to happen back then?
Right.
I just like, I'll probably be dead by then anyway, the way things are going.
Right. Who knows?
So I reserved a Cybertruck, spent $100, got a reservation number, and now it's been 4 years and we're creeping up. And I saw one in town. I saw my first Cybertruck ever.
Again, not wanting to have one for myself, but I appreciate that it's there and it provides the options, and it is pushing us into a new realm of vehicles.
Yeah.
And so I'm eager to spot this thing when I can.
Yeah, it's fun. I saw it on Blue Lakes on Friday, and I pointed it out to the kids, and I told my son's, he's 7 and he's always in the car. Hey dad, can we, hey this and that, and then, hey buddy, you know what? There's a Cybertruck, because I'm always looking at Cybertrucks on the internet.
Yeah.
I go, hey buddy, there's a Cybertruck in town. See if you can spot it. So he'll leave me alone and look out the windows.
Yeah, that's a good strategy.
But so when we saw it, I go, there's the Cybertruck. And he was pretty excited. My daughter didn't care. Neither did my wife.
What was the equipment? Was there any other equipment, or was that just it?
No, there was the four-wheeler, the electric four-wheeler.
The four-wheeler.
It's I don't even call it. It's a four-wheeler.
Yeah, it's a standing four-wheeler.
It's a standing electric four-wheeler. It has the gun scabbard on it.
Yeah.
It has
the back rack.
The back support.
Yeah.
I like standing on a four-wheeler,
being able to rest back
woods.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a unique design. I'm curious how its function is and how stable it is and how different it is to ride.
With something like that, I bet it's gonna feel pretty stable with a big heavy battery that you're like standing on the center of gravity.
I forgot it's electric.
Yeah. So it has this really low center of gravity, and you can stand. What I like standing, especially on difficult terrain, right? Now I can better move and articulate the four-wheeler. Rather, if I'm just sitting on it, I got to lean different and do stuff. So standing up, I can more quickly adjust. And I want to be standing up anyway.
And possibly escape if something happens
and
in
bail.
trouble. Yeah.
That's right.
So
because the way I drive, I'm going to need to bail.
That's for you. I can see that.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Totally.
It's for me too, actually. We only have a couple things left. Where am I at? I lost my, there it is. Okay. This next one, just a couple left. I saw the Onion headline this morning that was kind of, I don't know if it was mocking this or if this is really satirical or if this is really real, but at the same time, I wouldn't put it past somebody to go to Yellowstone and kick a bison.
Yeah. I heard about this the other day. I would have to have a picture of your Onion article to confirm that. Did you not clip a pic?
I didn't. I was busy. It was one of those things where I was flipping, but I was like, it's the Onion. Why would I clip the Onion for here? And it was actually this morning.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Anyway.
So so there's been two reports that I've seen. One from FARC, slightly more reputable than the Onion, and one from Fox News, somewhere in there. No, it wasn't from Fox News. It was from a YouTuber, Western Muleys. I think that's the guy's picture down there. He has some great content. He does a good job. Western Muleys is a pretty good guy. But he just talks about, and the sad part is when living in Idaho, we look forward to tourist season, to looking forward to all the videos we're going to get to see of tourists flying through the air.
Yeah.
Right? We joke about that.
Yeah.
Now, this is an Idaho guy.
Yeah.
This is a guy from Idaho.
Oh, hold on. Did he move here from somewhere else?
Allegedly.
Possibly. That's what I'm thinking.
More than 50% of the people did.
Because, right.
We did.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it is a statistic, right? More than 50% of people from Idaho weren't born in Idaho.
Yeah.
Anyway, some Idaho dummy goes into Yellowstone, kicks a bison allegedly, gets in trouble, gets hurt, goes to the hospital and gets a fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, so official tourist season has begun, I guess.
You know, you wonder what's going on in the mind of that buffalo. If he got revenge and what did he actually say? Like, you humans never learn around us is probably what he's saying in his mind, right?
Yeah, I don't think those things.
Well, I'm trying to haphazardly segue to the last article.
Oh, yeah.
And so talking about the intelligence of animals seemed like an appropriate direction to go.
No, it does. So I would say I think that the most dangerous animal in Africa is the hippo.
We weren't talking about.
If that's not a
Africa.
telltale sign to stay away from large herbivores,
Well, there you
I
go.
don't know what is.
Yeah.
It could be a very dangerous animal in North America. It's a very large and territorial, doesn't want to be bugged, doesn't have natural enemies, so it knows it can run over anything that gets close to it.
Clearly, you don't want to think in terms of like anthropomorphizing the species because you're saying
No, I don't.
But this last article,
I don't have to anthropomorphize. They're primates just like me. All right, not just like me. They have tails.
Just saying, they're still part of the animal kingdom that is different from us, but their behavior really suggests something else.
This was very interesting. It's not AI. It's I.
And even though I don't have a clip, I have something that piggybacks off of this that
Okay.
is surprising that I talked to you about. So Fearless Monkey Gang goes tears down an anti-monkey posters in a terrifying town uprising.
Yeah.
And so you were saying that this was just anti-monkey posters.
Yeah, the monkeys tore down dozens of anti-monkey posters. Like they were saying, like, don't feed the monkeys because there's, you open a box. I think I showed you somebody opening a box or something, and the monkeys just
go
swarm
crazy
on it like piranha.
That's what happened at a family reunion we had when I brought a box of Twinkies. I opened it up, and all those nieces and nephews went ape crap on them.
Yeah.
Anyway, what a curious thing. These apes are like, that's about us. We need to go tear it down. Like,
yeah.
Now we can't say that that's exactly what they're thinking, but their behavior suggests as much.
Something. Yeah, there's some correlation,
and it's
something interesting going on.
So the intelligence of animals, I think, is misunderstood. We're getting better evidence, but we can't anthropomorphize. It's hard. But I came across a headline of an orangutan, that had a wound on its face, and it had found, and it was using a medicinal plant. Like, we know it's a known medicinal plant for humans, and it was using this medicinal plant to treat itself.
Wow, that is nuts.
Yeah,
that is crazy.
I wish I would have clipped that. I didn't think the clip monkey business.
Well,
but I should just do it because it's all about
animals, animal language, and distancing ourselves. Distancing ourselves from other animals is not a good practice. And to bring them closer and to say, look, here's another primate using a medicinal plant. Look, here's other primates tearing down anti-primate posters. That's crazy.
That's out there, man.
Yeah.
I would never have expected that. So that brings it to a close, unless there's any final thoughts, Jerry Springer.
Love one another. And exercise. Don't skip leg day. That used to be the call of elk season. Don't skip leg day.
After our conversation today, I've had a few thoughts.
And that is, it's time to put your draw in.
Yeah.
Put your draw in. If you're going to draw, I want to put some stuff in, maybe for South Hills, for deer in the South Hills. Anyway.
Maybe.
Put your stuff in. You
have my support.
It's time to draw. You don't want to hunt antelope with a bow on August 15th?
I do, actually.
Right?
What?
Put it in. Put in for the draw.
I never remembered. I don't even have my dumb license yet.
There's only like 40 tags available.
Wow.
Yeah.
I keep fiending for some good antelope venison. It's
Brah. All right.
Sauteed in butter, dipped in ranch dressing. That's my only memory of eating antelope.
I would love to have a piece of antelope cooked like that on a hard dinner roll. Like a nice chewy dinner roll. Anyways,
that's it. Cheers.
Keep your stick on the ice. I think somebody already has that. Goodbye.